Your sign up rate can make or break your month. What you're looking for in a really good offer is an offer that has both volume, a lot of people signing up through it, and quality, a lot of people buying from it. The problem is a lot of times these two clash. So you'll compare offers and one of them has a decent sign up rate, another one has a really good one, but then when it comes to the quality, it's inverted, right? The one with the decent sign up rate has better conversion rate, and the other one has a worse conversion rate. And so in this video, I want to answer this problem and show you what you can do to completely remove these obstacles and really know once and for all which offer is the better one. And I'm going to use a real example of a brand that did quite an extreme test. So it's just produced very, very interesting numbers. It also was a while ago. So the second good thing about this is I have a full 12-month view of what happened after this offer. So let's dive into it. We are comparing 15% off sign-up offer with an 80% off sign-up offer. And again, these are real numbers, even though it might seem incredible. 80% off was just a test of a very big promotion they wanted to do. And the idea was to attract more people, get them to make that first purchase, and lead them to buy again. And the question is, did that work, right? Did that actually end up making the brand money the way they planned? And in order to answer that, we'll look at a couple of different views in this cohort analysis that I think show the different sides of this question, why it's so important to look at the right metrics. Because I can tell you 3 different stories based on 3 different ways to view the same exact cohort analysis. The first story is that the 80% off offer completely failed. This is what you might expect. You might expect that people who will sign up for an 80% off offer are on average pretty low quality. They might just be looking for, stuff that's really cheap but have no interest in the actual brand and have no interest in becoming a customer and purchasing again, which is the whole gambit with this 80% off offer. And this view seems to confirm it. So if you pick as your KPI for the cohort analysis, you pick revenue per recipient, or if you pick cumulative conversion rate, so how many people out of the total signups have ended up converting, you can see that after 12 months, 44% of people who sign up for the 15% offer converted, and only 80% of people who sign up for the 80% offer converted. So that's not looking great. And then if we also look at lifetime value per recipient, lifetime value per sign up, you will see that after 12 months, it's more than twice as high for the 15% offer than the 80% offer. So this is pretty clear, right? This is a story where an 80% offer is looking great. We're getting a 30% conversion rate versus a 5%, but afterwards it doesn't lead to conversions. But that's not the full story. As I've told you, there are 3 stories that I can tell you with the same numbers, and we're going to go into the second one now. So the second story that I want to tell is a story of these offers actually did the same thing. If you look at the lifetime value, but you look at only the buyers, so the people that we managed to convert, you can see that actually the 80% offer did slightly better. So the average revenue is higher. If we look at average orders per buyer, they're exactly the same for both offers after 12 months. And so this might tell us that, well, at the end, we got around the same results with both promotions, but with one of them, we sacrificed a lot of our profit margin. And again, this is another incomplete part of the picture, because what it doesn't show is how many purchasers that we end up getting, right? So now we have 2 different stories that each show a different part of the full picture. And so the last story I want to tell you, which is the one that I think is the most interesting for us, is this one. I've removed the sign up step and just looked at how many people saw the offer, whether or not they signed up. And I looked at, out of that, what's the LTV, right? So the average LTV out of not people who signed up or not, but out of anyone who viewed the offer. So right off the bat, you can see that the numbers look completely different here if we just look at page views to conversion. And this is because now we're accounting for everything, right? We're accounting for, in this measure, there is the difference in sign-up rate, there's a difference in conversion rate per recipient, and the long-term, and we also have the long-term view of this. And you can see that the numbers are extremely different, because this is the only view that also accounts for the massive increase in volume for the 80% off offer. And it turns out that it was just too hard to beat that volume with 15% off. So even though we're getting less dead weight with a 15% off offer, and we're getting on average a better chance of converting the customer, we're getting so much fewer people that we can't try to turn into customers that it doesn't work out. The efficiency is much lower for running a 15% off offer versus 80% off. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should do that. The margins question is a big one for this offer specifically, and this will only be attractive to a business that really wants to be extremely aggressive with their growth and also has high confidence that people will want to buy the product again after they've bought it. So this is not necessarily just to say that 8% off is the winning offer in every case, but what I wanted to show is how different the results can look if you apply different lenses. And in this situation, it's particularly striking because we have completely different stories depending on which part of the story we leave out. And obviously, we don't want to leave out any part of the story, but a lot of times that's what happens when you just simply pick the wrong metric for your analysis. So let me know if I've missed anything and if there are any other views that would give this an even more complete picture. And thank you for watching.